The first 5 levels did not have the cultivation methods he sought. The 6th level, however, requires the willpower of someone at the void tribulation stage to enter. Wang Lin's cultivation hasn't reached that level yet, but he carries many secrets, so it's possible he could enter the 6th level. However, the 6th level is already his limit. As for the 7th and 8th levels, once entered, they would trigger a heavenly anomaly within the Great Soul Sect. No more than 5 people can enter. As for the final 9th level, no one can step inside except me. Moreover, when the ancient ancestor of the past predicted the changes of the heavens, he once said that Wang Lin would only be able to enter the 9th level after 300 years. Qing True One smiled faintly, closed his eyes, and said no more. At the stairs leading from the 5th to the 6th level, Wang Lin remained still. After a long while, his eyes suddenly gleamed, and he let out a deep breath. What a powerful illusion! In that brief moment, he experienced countless illusory worlds, and what seemed like mere moments felt like hundreds of years to him. Now fully awake, Wang Lin's eyes flickered, his left foot raised, and he took another step upward. As his foot landed on the step, a loud sound rang in his mind, but his expression remained unchanged. His gaze sharpened as his left foot fell and his right foot lifted. In one continuous motion, he stepped up 7 steps. With each step, his mind was engulfed in a deafening roar, and an overwhelming pressure descended upon him, as if trying to force him off the steps. A mere restriction cannot stop my steps. Wang Lin's brow furrowed, the ancient god star point on his forehead flickered, and the demon star manifested in his eyes. A thunderous sound erupted from his body, as he resisted the pressure with his extraordinary physical strength, stepping up 5 more stairs. At this moment, he was now less than 8 steps away from the entrance to the 6th level. One more step, and he would enter. I have battled cultivators at the void tribulation stage before. This restriction is simply mimicking the will of a void tribulation cultivator. My will, born in the abode realm and entering the immortal firmament continent, with a clone in the void layer alongside the immortal ancestor and ancient ancestor's origin, is far beyond this restriction. Wang Lin's body suddenly radiated an astonishing willpower. His expression remained calm, and he took another step, one step, then another. Without a pause, he steadily ascended the remaining 7 steps, leaving only the last one. As Wang Lin lifted his foot to take that final step, the world before his eyes suddenly flickered. When his vision cleared, he found himself on the edge of a cliff. If he took a step, he would fall to the bottom. From deep within the cliff, chilling screams echoed, and vengeful spirits, like swirling smoke, surged towards him. As he watched the vengeful spirits rushing toward him from the bottom of the cliff, Wang Lin's eyes flickered in thought. He did not rush, but carefully considered the strange nature of the illusion. This restriction, though seemingly simple, appeared to suggest that if one had sufficient willpower and took a bold step forward without worrying about the spirits or the cliff, they would pass through. But something felt wrong to Wang Lin. By now, most of the vengeful spirits had already surged out, and they were less than 100 feet away, rapidly closing in on him. This illusion is quite clever. A cold smile appeared on Wang Lin's face as he shifted his body. His steps did not change as he moved toward the cliff's edge. With a single step forward, the spirits below showed signs of excitement and anticipation, as if they were waiting for Wang Lin to make this move. However, just as his foot was about to land, ripples of energy spread, and his figure vanished without a trace. At that instant, the illusory world collapsed with a deafening crash. At the entrance to the 6th level of the Soul Repository Pavilion, Wang Lin's body stepped out, not onto the final step, but over it, landing directly inside the 6th level's pavilion. As his foot touched the ground, a thunderous noise rang in his mind, and everything fell silent. At the same moment, within the azure sky peak's abode, Qing True One's expression remained unchanged. He nodded slightly. Indeed, as predicted by the ancient ancestor, a person so close to the truth, entering the 6th level on the first try without anyone's guidance. That is rare. You actually made it up here. Yin Wan's eyes narrowed as he stared at Wang Lin. If you can come, why can't I? Wang Lin replied calmly, stepping forward. If he had stepped directly onto the last step earlier, his efforts would have been in vain. The cleverness of the restriction lay in the fact that the final step could not be stepped on. It had to be bypassed. Throughout history, countless people had tried to enter the 6th level, only to fail. Once one fails in the Soul Repository Pavilion, they must wait for another chance to enter before. Humph. Someone must have told you in advance about the mysteries of the staircase leading to the 6th layer. Yin Luan spoke calmly, thinking she had figured out the answer. Wang Lin's expression remained unchanged as he glanced at Yin Luan, not saying a word. Instead, his divine sense spread out to observe the 6th layer. The number of soul bodies floating in this layer was much fewer than in the 5th layer, with only a bit more than 60. However, each soul body emitted an extremely powerful aura, clearly containing the kinds of formidable divine arts and cultivation techniques that only void tribulation cultivators were qualified to obtain. Yin Luan observed Wang Lin's actions and clearly saw that he had silently acknowledged her previous guess. She then closed her eyes and chose to ignore Wang Lin. After all, in the Soul Repository Pavilion, all battles were forbidden. Despite being an elder of the Great Soul Sect for many years, she did not dare to break any rules here. The Soul Repository Pavilion was merely a place to choose cultivation techniques. It was the sacred ground of the Great Soul Sect. Inside, countless unimaginable secrets were hidden, a fact Yin Luan was well aware of. Wang Lin's divine sense swept over the more than 60 soul bodies. Among them, he found the multiple illusion art and the soul-summoning divine art that Yin Luan had previously used. Especially the soul body on top of Yin Luan's head at this moment. It was exactly the soul-summoning art Wang Lin had been searching for. The entire 6th layer was eerily quiet, and after a brief moment of contemplation, Wang Lin took a step forward. As his feet touched the wooden floor of the 6th layer, the boards creaked under his weight. In the stillness of the 6th layer, the noise was jarring, making Yin Luan open her eyes, her expression showing a hint of disgust. Wang Lin paid no attention to the look on her face. Despite the creaking sounds, he walked up to the soul body containing the multiple illusion art. He stared at it intently, his brow furrowing as he examined it closely. Yin Luan noticed Wang Lin's expression and sneered. She knew exactly why Wang Lin was frowning. In fact, when she first came here years ago and saw the renowned multiple illusion art of the Great Soul Sect, she had also frowned. The multiple illusion art of the Great Soul Sect. Here, there are only the first 5 layers of the technique. If you have the ability, you can go to the 7th layer. It is said that the last 2 layers of the illusion arts are there. If you're strong enough, you could go to the 8th or even the 9th layer. In the 9th layer, you'll find the complete ancient soul bodies of the Great Soul Sect's multiple illusion art. Yin Luan said. Oh. Wang Lin glanced at Yin Luan, his gaze sweeping over the soul body on top of her head. This soul summoning art is incomplete. Could it be that it's also only available above the 7th layer? Wang Lin remarked. Of course, in the Great Soul Sect, everything depends on strength. If you have the power, you can naturally obtain the complete version. The entrance to the 7th layer is right there. Dare you give it a try? Yin Luan sneered, raising her jade hand to point toward a distant ancient staircase leading to the 7th layer. The staircase was covered in dust, clearly indicating that no one had ascended it for a long time. Only by approaching could one see faint footprints, obscured by a layer of newer dust. Do you think you can make it up? Yin Luan's voice was full of contempt. Wang Lin remained silent, his gaze fixed on the staircase. His brow furrowed slightly. The 7th layer, it seemed, could only be reached by someone with a willpower equivalent to the mid-void tribulation stage. For Wang Lin, this would be quite difficult, and the 8th and 9th layers were an even greater challenge. If you can't make it up, then don't be picky. Just the techniques and divine arts here should be enough for your lifetime. Yin Luan said, firmly believing Wang Lin wasn't qualified to ascend. Her words, though not overly sharp, carried an air of disdain. Hearing Yin Luan's words, Wang Lin suddenly smiled. He turned to look at her. Despite the resentment on her face, this beautiful young woman had not lost any of her allure. On the contrary, she appeared even more captivating. Yet, to Wang Lin, this beauty was no different from a skeleton. How about we make a bet? If I manage to reach the 7th layer, what will you wager? Wang Lin asked, his voice echoing in the 6th layer. Yin Luan's expression froze as the words reached her ears. She glanced at the staircase leading to the 7th layer and fell into deep thought. Is there any truth to what Wang Lin says? Humph. The 7th layer. Only a handful of people from the Great Soul Sect have entered. I tried it myself, but couldn't even get past 7 steps. His cultivation might be mysterious, but I've fought him twice. If I can't make it up, neither can he. His words must be a way to find a way out. If I don't agree, he can easily avoid this topic, and I won't be able to press him any further. If you manage to reach the 7th layer, I'll bet this item. Yin Luan's eyes flashed as she raised her right hand. You. If you can't make it to the 7th step, what will you wager? Yin Luan fixed his gaze on Wang Lin, his words turning cold. This sword will be enough. Yin Luan's eyes briefly scanned the blood sword. She knew that this sword was a treasure of the Dao ancient clan, and as a wager equal to her own blue umbrella, it was indeed sufficient. Fine. Then I'll wager with you. I'm curious to see how you'll be thrown back by the restrictions of the 7th step. Yin Luan's pupils contracted, and for a moment, she couldn't quite understand Wang Lin. How can he take out this sword? Could it be that he's absolutely confident? Wang Lin's expression remained calm. He no longer looked at Yin Luan, and instead walked towards the staircase leading to the 7th step. His pace was slow, but every step he took seemed to ripple outward, as though he were stepping on Yin Luan's very heart. At that moment, she stopped contemplating the divine abilities within her soul body and focused entirely on Wang Lin, her heart suddenly tightening with anxiety. She vaguely regretted provoking him. That blue umbrella was one of her most powerful magical treasures. Its defensive power was astounding. Humph, this person is sly and pretends to be mysterious. He'll probably back out of this wager after losing. In Yin Luan's gaze, Wang Lin steadily approached the ancient staircase. Wang Lin looked at the staircase. At its end, the 7th step awaited. It seemed like one could easily step across, but as he neared, a dangerous aura radiated from the stairs, warning him that without sufficient willpower, stepping onto them would be like a lone boat in a furious sea. What? Not daring anymore. Yin Luan saw Wang Lin pause beside the stairs and let out a sigh of relief. She was afraid of seeing him move as if on flat ground, casually stepping into the 7th step, although in her view, that was nearly impossible. Wang Lin suddenly turned, giving Yin Luan a meaningful look. Watch carefully. His voice was filled with intent, his eyes flashing with brilliance. He raised his foot and stepped directly onto the 1st step. The moment his foot landed, the Great Soul Sect trembled as the sky itself seemed to change. A loud, rumbling noise echoed. A massive staircase stretched across hundreds of miles of the sky, materializing above the Great Soul Sect. The light from the staircase was blinding, illuminating the dark night of the sect. The booming sounds reverberated through the night, waking countless cultivators of the Great Soul Sect from their seclusion. They spread their divine sense or appeared in a flash, all of them seeing the giant staircase in the sky. Someone is trying to enter the Soul Repository Pavilion's 7th step. This person has white hair. Isn't he the newly arrived Elder Wang? Although his cultivation is impressive, entering the 7th step is likely impossible. Haha, here comes some excitement. It's been over 100 years since anyone attempted the 7th step. Except for a few old fellows, no one dares step into the 7th step anymore. The restrictions of the Soul Repository Pavilion are incredibly strong. Unless one can successfully step into the 7th step, the sky will change like this. Before success, every attempt will draw everyone's attention. I believe Elder Wang will fail. The staircase had 19 steps, and at the very first, a giant figure stood. That figure, with white hair, was none other than Wang Lin. This was the change in the heavens and earth that occurred whenever someone from the Great Soul Sect attempted to enter the 7th step of the Soul Repository Pavilion. Throughout history, anyone trying to step into the 7th step would trigger such a transformation, drawing the attention of everyone in the sect. It was both an honor and an immense pressure. If someone unqualified attempted to enter, all their failures would be witnessed by all, including their disgraceful rejection. Because of this, it had been many years since anyone dared to try. Figures from all the mountains of the Great Soul Sect flew out, all gazing at the sky. While such events were not unheard of, they were rare enough to spark great interest. Yet few believed Wang Lin would succeed. Most were eager to see him fail. Even the Azure Ox Patriarch on Azure Sky Peak furrowed his brow, his gaze piercing through the sect's realm as he saw the change in the sky. He's being reckless. With his cultivation, he cannot enter the 7th step. The Azure Ox Patriarch sighed inwardly, shaking his head slightly. Let it be. This will temper his arrogance. He shouldn't think there are no mysteries within the Great Soul Sect. Meanwhile, in several other mountain peaks, a few long-secluded elders slowly opened their star-like eyes, silently observing. Interesting, with such cultivation, stepping onto the 6th step is already hard enough, and yet he wants to enter the 7th step. This child is somewhat overestimating himself. In the ethereal shadow of the sky, on the massive 19-tiered staircase, Wang Lin's right foot landed on the 1st step. His eyes were closed, and his body remained motionless. But soon, he suddenly opened his eyes, staring at the top of the stairs. His foot lifted with a sudden motion, and he began to stride forward, stepping confidently with each move. With every step, a thunderous roar echoed throughout the Great Soul Sect, like the crash of thunder. In the blink of an eye, Wang Lin had taken 5 steps, climbing 5 tiers. On the 6th floor of the Soul Repository Pavilion, Yin Luan's gaze was fixed on Wang Lin. After he had taken 5 steps, his expression suddenly changed, but it quickly returned to normal. So what if he's made it past 5 steps? He won't make it past the 7th. Yin Luan clenched his fists, forgetting to focus on the divine abilities within his soul body, his eyes completely locked on Wang Lin ahead. Wang Lin's expression was calm, but within, his emotions churned like a surging storm. The moment his foot hit the 5th step, it felt as though he had fallen into an abyss. A massive divine sense surged from the steps beneath his feet, crashing into his mind and reverberating into a huge voice. Step back, step back, step back. Though the voice only contained 2 words, it erupted within Wang Lin's mind like endless echoes, rising and falling as though hundreds or thousands of people were simultaneously roaring at him. Amidst the overwhelming sound, Wang Lin felt as if his body was being torn apart. It was as if he didn't retreat, both his form and spirit would be destroyed. In the midst of this, Wang Lin's footsteps halted on the 5th step. He lifted his head, staring at the top of the stairs, his eyes filled with resolve. Primordial true body, condense. Wang Lin raised his right hand, making a gesture. In an instant, a thunderous roar erupted from within the Great Soul Sect. The blazing flame vein peak exploded in a mighty firestorm, which quickly spread across the sky. Beneath the flames, a massive face emerged. This face was Wang Lin's primordial true body. In the blink of an eye, the raging firestorm surged toward the illusory staircase and the illusory Wang Lin in the sky, merging into his phantom form. Meanwhile, on the 6th floor of the Soul Repository Pavilion, on the stairs leading to the 7th floor, Wang Lin's entire body was immediately engulfed by the firestorm. Behind him, his primordial true body materialized. As soon as his primordial true body appeared, Wang Lin's eyes gleamed with sharp light, as though he had gained a new power. He suddenly raised his foot and moved forward again. The 6th, 7th, and 8th steps, Wang Lin's steps never faltered. In an instant, he had climbed to the 13th step. The moment his foot hit the ground, on the 6th floor of the Soul Repository Pavilion, Yin Luan, who had been watching Wang Lin closely, suddenly stood up. Her exquisite face changed dramatically, her eyes filled with disbelief. Her body trembled slightly, and she didn't even notice her right hand tightly gripping, now turning pale. Impossible. Meanwhile, in the Great Soul Sect, all the disciples and elders who had witnessed Wang Lin stepping onto the 13th step of the sky-high staircase were stunned, and a wave of astonishment spread. He paused on the 5th step and then directly moved to the 13th. This person, his willpower is unbelievably strong. That's the primordial true body. It's actually the primordial true body. Elder Wang's actions are incredible. With just 6 more steps, he will reach the 7th floor. The existence of Wang Lin's primordial true body was not known to everyone in the Great Soul Sect. But now, under the intense scrutiny of the crowd, its impact was beyond description. The entire Great Soul Sect seemed to be boiling. Even the reclusive elders, who rarely left their chambers, were visibly moved. 13th step. On Azure Sky Peak, the Azure Ox Patriarch's expression grew grave, yet he remained seated, not rising or leaving. I underestimated him. His primordial true body seems to have reached the level of a true immortal. The difference between the primordial true body and the true immortal is a vast chasm. However, the 13th step is close to his limit. He can probably only climb 3 more steps. The Azure Ox Patriarch's cultivation was profound, and his sharp eyes rarely made mistakes. On the 13th step of the staircase leading to the 7th floor in the Soul Repository Pavilion, Wang Lin stood silently for a moment. With the power of his primordial true body, he had reached this point, but in his mind, the thunderous voice had become a tidal wave, crashing with even greater force. Step back. The roar echoed through his mind, rising and falling, assaulting Wang Lin's essence spirit. His expression appeared calm, but in reality, his eyes were filled with dizziness. This dizziness was witnessed by Yin Yuan, by countless disciples outside the Great Soul Sect, and by those ancient experts in seclusion. He's reaching his limit. Yin Yuan's face revealed joy. It seems he won't be able to reach the 7th floor after all. The many disciples of the Great Soul Sect secretly, but in that very moment, within the illusory gigantic staircase in the sky above the Great Soul Sect, the dazed look in Wang Lin's eyes suddenly disappeared, replaced by a surging brilliance. Yin Yuan, you're celebrating too early. That umbrella of yours, it's mine now. 15th step. The heavens and earth rumbled. Countless cultivators in the Great Soul Sect turned their attention to Wang Lin as he reached the 15th step and took another stride forward. 16th step. 3 more to go. My will, Wang Lin's will, defies the heavens. Why should I retreat? Wang Lin's voice echoed, and the life and death origin within his void origin exploded from his body. The void origin was unaffected on the immortal firmament continent, but as it erupted, Wang Lin stepped onto the 17th step. My will, unshaken by the heavenly tribulation, has reclaimed my destiny from it. I came to this immortal firmament continent not to submit, but to control my fate. I came not to obey, but to step on the heavens. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed with a dazzling light. His cause and effect origin erupted violently, and he stepped onto the 18th step. With each scene, the disciples of the Great Soul Sect were stunned, their minds shaken. When Yin Yuan saw it, her face turned ashen. Even the ancient beings in seclusion for years at the Great Soul Sect stepped out of their chambers, their eyes fixed on the scene. My will cannot be erased by the heavenly tribulation. I have returned my fate to myself. Wang Lin's words rang out, and his true and false origins exploded. His body became ethereal, swiftly changing. 1 step fell, and he stood on the 19th step, entering the 7th level of the Soul Repository Pavilion. The moment he stepped down, the illusory image above the Great Soul Sect shone endlessly. As it flickered, the surroundings fell silent. All the disciples of the Great Soul Sect gazed at the image with reverence. A true master, regardless of place, commands respect. With his steps, Wang Lin told everyone in the Great Soul Sect that he had entered the 7th level. This caused the earlier skeptics to be shaken, unable to speak for a long time. From now on, the 7th level of the Soul Repository Pavilion will no longer be exclusive to the 5 elders, with the exception of the ancestor. Now another one is joined. A sigh echoed from somewhere far away within the Great Soul Sect. At the same time, within the Azure Sky Peaks cave, Azure Ox True One remained silent. He sat cross-legged without rising, but his eyes revealed a solemn expression. He really has reached the 7th level. The ancestor once said that this person would reach the 7th level in 3 years, the 8th level in 30, and the 9th in 300. He would bring the greatest fortune to the Great Soul Sect. But now, it's all changed. In the 7th level of the Soul Repository Pavilion, at the moment Wang Lin's foot landed, he suddenly turned his head, gazing at the pale-faced Yin Yuan on the 6th level. With a flick of his sleeve, the blood sword and Yin Yuan's blue umbrella, which had been left behind on the 6th level, flew toward him. Yin Yuan, this umbrella is mine. Yin Yuan instinctively raised her hand to grab the umbrella, but her pride would not allow her to do so. Hesitating for a moment, the umbrella and the blood sword arrived at Wang Lin's side. Stowing the blood sword, Wang Lin grabbed the blue umbrella, preparing to erase Yin Luan's divine sense and claim it as his own. Just then, Yin Luan's cold voice suddenly came from the 6th level. Wang Lin, are you still going to gamble? Wang Lin's eyes flickered. With a cold smile, he stopped erasing the divine sense from the umbrella. Holding it in his hand, he spoke slowly. What kind of bet are you offering? I bet you can't reach the 8th level. Do you dare to bet? Yin Luan's figure wavered, appearing at the stairway entrance but not daring to step forward. Instead, she looked up at Wang Lin. Wang Lin did not speak immediately. He appeared to be considering her words. If you lose, just return the umbrella to me. But if you win, I. Before Yin Luan could finish, Wang Lin interrupted her. Why would I continue gambling with you? Wang Lin spoke calmly, swinging his sleeve and walking toward the 7th level, where nearly 30 soul bodies floated. Wang Lin, if you win, I, Yin Luan, will give you this treasure. Yin Luan's jade hand flipped, and a small purple gourd appeared in her grasp. The moment the gourd appeared, waves of soul fluctuations suddenly spread out from within. This treasure belonged to the 9th ancestor, Luo Yunhai, during his lifetime. I obtained it by chance. It contains 10 billion souls from his time, though it's damaged now. Still, there are 30 million souls inside. Once used, it can unleash the strongest power. Equivalent to a mid-stage void tribulation, this item is precisely why I can summon the 9th ancestor using the soul summoning return technique. With it in your possession, and if you practice the soul summoning return Dao technique, you too can call forth the 9th ancestor. As long as you can step into the 8th layer, this item is yours. Will you bet on it? Yin Luan's voice was sharp, echoing within the soul repository pavilion. Wang Lin halted his steps as he approached the soul body on the 7th layer. He sensed the ripples of soul energy emanating from the 6th layer and fell into contemplation. With so few treasures at his disposal, in the immortal firmament continent, to establish himself, besides his own cultivation, magical artifacts were just as critical. If I could get this item, it would be a trump card strong enough to threaten even the mid-void tribulation stage. Wang Lin murmured as his gaze swept over the stairs leading to the 8th layer. The dust on those stairs was thicker, clearly showing that no one had stepped on them for a long time. He also swept his divine sense over the soul body of the 7th layer, discovering the more complete soul summoning return technique and the multiple illusion art. However, it was clear that compared to the soul body in the 8th layer, this one was far less complete. The stairs to the 8th layer, without using my clone's power, it'll be hard to climb them. Wang Lin furrowed his brow as he weighed the risks, while his mind slowly reached out to sense the location of his clone. Yin Luan waited on the 6th layer for Wang Lin's response. In the silence, she grew slightly anxious, fearing that Wang Lin might refuse. At the same time, she considered the possibility that, should he agree, he might actually have a way to enter the 8th layer. This can't be possible. That umbrella is incredibly useful to me. I can't stand giving it up so easily. The 8th layer contains the will of the late void tribulation stage. With Wang Lin's cultivation, if he steps through the 7th layer, he will surely suffer injuries. He can't possibly get past the 8th layer. Just as Yin Luan's thoughts were in turmoil, suddenly, Wang Lin's voice echoed from the 7th layer. If you want to gamble, then let's gamble. Wang Lin's words were firm. The gourd containing 30 million souls must be his. When he had previously sensed his clone's growth, it had been faster than expected. Even if he shared power with his main body, it wouldn't have a significant impact. With that, Wang Lin made up his mind. Upon hearing Wang Lin's words, Yin Luan suddenly regretted her decision. She didn't fully understand why, but the decisiveness in Wang Lin's voice made her heart tremble. A hesitation flickered in Yin Luan's eyes. What's wrong? Are you afraid? If you're too scared, then so be it. But don't blame me for erasing your divine sense from this blue umbrella. Wang Lin smiled faintly, holding the blue umbrella in his right hand, his left hand raised to wipe away its divine sense. All right, I'll bet with you. I don't believe you can step onto both the 7th and 8th layers consecutively. Yin Luan gritted her teeth. Wang Lin laughed heartily, swinging his sleeve as he headed straight for the stairs to the 8th layer. With each step, his divine sense merged with his clone, bypassing the Great Soul Sect's restrictions and the myriad rules of the Soul Repository Pavilion. In an invisible manner, they surged into Wang Lin's body. His eyes gleamed, and after 7 steps, he arrived at the stairs leading to the 8th layer. Raising his foot, he took the first step. Yin Luan, watch closely. At the moment Wang Lin's foot landed on the stairs, the many cultivators in the Great Soul Sect, who were about to disperse, suddenly froze, their hearts shaken. They all looked up in shock. Even the old experts in seclusion opened their eyes, their expressions drastically changing. The phantom image above the Great Soul Sect, which had been dissipating, suddenly reappeared, more immense, awe-inspiring, and radiant than before. A massive staircase formed, booming with the sound of the earth and sky. This staircase led to the 8th layer of the Soul Repository Pavilion. Wang Lin's figure appeared once again on those stairs. The sight of his white hair fluttering made everyone's hearts tremble. He's actually going to enter the 8th layer. This is a once-in-a-100-year event. I can't believe I'm witnessing someone trying to break through both the 7th and 8th layers. A clamor arose as all the elder cultivators who were in seclusion, their expressions solemn, fixed their gazes on Wang Lin. At this moment, within Azure Sky Peak, the Azure Ox Patriarch could no longer maintain his calm composure. He stood up, his face shifting in uncertainty, unable to hide his astonishment. He's going to the 8th layer. Entering the 7th layer 3 years early was already bizarre, but if he really enters the 8th layer, that's 30 years ahead of schedule. The Azure Ox Patriarch wasn't sure whether this was good or bad for the Great Soul Sect, but unlike the predictions of the previous generation, he felt a deep unease in his heart. On the 6th layer, Yin Luan, unable to enter the 7th layer, couldn't see the changes occurring there. She couldn't even extend her divine sense into it. But inside the Great Soul Sect, within the newly acquired mountain peak of Yin Luan, one of her disciples was initially staring at the sky in shock. Suddenly, her body trembled, her eyes grew confused for a moment, and a fierce killing intent emerged in her gaze. In an instant, her soul was suppressed, replaced by the divine sense left behind by Yin Luan on the mountain peak, becoming Yin Luan's eyes. Yin Luan lowered her head, her gaze sweeping across the land. It eventually settled on Yin Luan's mountain peak, where the disciple, now under the influence of Yin Luan's divine sense, trembled again. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. As Wang Lin's gaze fell on her, Yin Luan had a strange sensation, as if her divine sense might be forced out of the disciple's body. It felt as though, if Wang Lin's gaze lingered for even a moment longer, her divine sense would be violently expelled. This sensation was unlike any she had ever experienced. Even though the young ancestor could achieve such feats, the aura surrounding him was different from what Yin Luan felt now. In that instant, Yin Luan looked at him, and it seemed as though Wang Lin was no longer the Wang Lin she had seen before. This strange illusion struck her. Though it was clearly the same person, she felt 2 completely different kinds of shock. This shock wasn't just felt by her. In the Great Soul Sect, every cultivator who met Wang Lin's gaze felt their minds thundering. They trembled and instinctively stepped back, all of them experiencing a terrifying sense as if their souls were about to leap out of their bodies, their essence spirits on the verge of separation. It didn't matter their cultivation level, whether it was the lowest disciple or the most senior elder. Even the old monsters who had come out of seclusion from the mountain peaks all felt the same thunderous tremor in their souls, as if their essence spirits were about to break free. This was all because of Wang Lin's terrifying gaze. And within the Azure Sky Peaks cave, the Azure Ox Patriarch, upon feeling Wang Lin's gaze sweep from Yin Luan, turned his head to look directly in this direction. As soon as their gazes met, the Azure Ox Patriarch's expression changed drastically. His body trembled, and a surge of azure mist appeared behind him, transforming into his primordial true form. Wang Lin's gaze quickly moved on, but the Azure Ox Patriarch felt a deep disturbance within his soul. His eyes widened in shock. The gaze was cold, emotionless, and held a commanding presence as if everything in the world was beneath it, deserving of worship. The Azure Ox Patriarch had never been to the Tao ancient lineage's imperial city. He had never seen the enormous ancestral statues floating in midair, towering high into the sky. Had he seen them, he would have felt a striking familiarity. At this moment, the enormous phantom of Wang Lin in the sky bore an uncanny resemblance to the ancient ancestors' imposing aura. Yet, in the finer details, it was different. What has happened to him? This person is definitely not Wang Lin. Who is he? The Azure Ox Patriarch's face turned pale, his body swaying as he stepped out of his cave, standing in midair, his expression grave. The massive phantom of Wang Lin in the sky, after looking down at the earth, closed his eyes. The Azure Ox Patriarch did not understand Wang Lin's secrets. He didn't know that the person who had appeared was, in fact, Wang Lin himself, but that overwhelming aura came from his avatar. As soon as Wang Lin closed his eyes, he raised his foot and calmly took a step forward. With that step, the heavens and earth trembled, and the huge staircase phantom wavered as though it could not bear the weight of Wang Lin's step. It felt as though Wang Lin's step came from the distant void itself, a step that no one, not even the Soul Repository Pavilion, the Great Soul Sect, or the entire Heavenly Bull continent, could endure. With a thunderous sound, Wang Lin took another step. His steps were steady and composed, as though he was walking on his own private loft, slowly ascending the staircase. The third step, the fourth, the fifth. Under the watchful eyes of the silent disciples of the Great Soul Sect, they saw Wang Lin, eyes closed, walking up 15 steps without hesitation. He passed over 15 steps, not stopping once, as if the prohibitions on the stairs were insignificant to him. This scene caused the disciples of the Great Soul Sect to turn pale. The elders were all struck with awe, and the Azure Ox Patriarch gasped in shock. Meanwhile, Yin Luan's divine sense within the female disciple trembled violently, as if it was about to disperse. Yin Luan clenched her fists, her nails digging into her flesh, drawing blood. The heavens rumbled again. With his eyes still closed, Wang Lin's foot rose and stepped onto the 16th, 17th, and 18th steps. At that moment, his eyes suddenly opened. A pressure from the heavens and earth radiated from his eyes, covering the earth below. All those who saw it instinctively lowered their heads, unable to look directly. The female disciple, under the influence of Yin Luan's divine sense, trembled violently, as though Yin Luan's divine sense was being driven out. Yin Luan, I've won. Wang Lin's calm voice resonated through the heavens and earth. With his final step, he reached the 19th step, entering the moment his words left his mouth. The female disciple whose divine sense was tied to Yin Luan's trembled violently. Her divine sense within her body suddenly dissipated. She staggered back a few steps, her eyes filled with confusion. In that instant, the entire Great Soul Sect fell into dead silence. But soon, an overwhelming uproar erupted. He succeeded. He broke through 7 or 8 levels. Elder Wang really made it to the 8th level. His gaze is terrifying. I've never seen anything like it in any other cultivator. At Azure Sky Peak, the Azure Ox Patriarch gazed up at the massive, fading illusion in the sky. His expression shifted continuously, showing signs of complexity. Within the Soul Repository Pavilion, on the 6th level, Yin Luan's face instantly drained of color. Her body shivered as she stood in silence by the entrance to the 7th level. The gourd in her hand now seemed to radiate immense force, as though it was trying to pull itself away. Yet, at that moment, Yin Luan gritted her teeth, clenched her fist tightly, and forcefully held the gourd in her hand. Huh? Are you having second thoughts? As soon as Yin Luan gripped the gourd, Wang Lin's voice unexpectedly came from the 8th level. At the same time, the sound of footsteps ascending the stairs echoed from above her. It was Wang Lin. As he entered the 8th level, he turned and began walking downward. Once someone succeeded in entering the 7th or 8th level in the Soul Repository Pavilion, no further heavenly anomalies would occur in the Great Soul Sect, and outsiders would remain unaware. However, Yin Luan felt as though an unparalleled immortal was descending from the 8th level to approach her. The creaking sound of footsteps echoed throughout the Soul Repository Pavilion as Wang Lin slowly descended the stairs, step by step, until he reached the 7th level. Since you made the bet, don't go back on it, Yin Luan. This wager wasn't proposed by me. It was you who brought it up. Wang Lin's voice was calm and without fluctuation as it came from the 7th level, falling into Yin Luan's ears. Her pupils contracted, and at the end of the staircase to the 7th level, she saw the right foot of Wang Lin descending with a step. From her position, she could only see this foot, unable to see his body. As his foot touched the step, she felt as though she were standing in the vastness of the heavens, gazing upon a sun-like force. Are you sure you want to go back on it? Wang Lin continued his slow descent, his voice carrying an aura of majesty, as though it were an unstoppable heavenly force. This aura seemed to transcend the restrictions of the Soul Repository Pavilion, as if surpassing even the immortal astral laws, descending upon the Great Soul Sect. As Wang Lin continued his descent, his legs and body gradually became visible to Yin Luan's eyes. Are you certain? Answer me. As Wang Lin's foot landed on the 9th step, his complete form appeared. His voice was calm, but it struck like thunder, causing Yin Luan's face to turn pale as she stumbled back several steps. Fear flooded her eyes. In that instant, she seemed to forget her cultivation and felt as if she were an ant before Wang Lin. In her eyes, he was no longer Wang Lin. Who are you? Yin Luan's eyes were bloodshot, her voice hoarse. At this moment, Wang Lin was using the full force of his clone's aura to suppress her, locking her mind and leaving a crack in her Tao heart. This would cause her to feel fear every time she encountered him in the future. In this way, she would pose no threat to him in the future. There was no deep grudge between them, and Wang Lin didn't intend to ruin her cultivation. She could continue her path as before, but she would forever fear him and not dare to challenge him. Hand it over. Wang Lin's footsteps fell again, and he took 2 more steps down, his right hand casually raised. To Yin Luan, these 2 steps felt as though they were crashing into her soul. It was as if the very heavens and earth were collapsing, and if she didn't hand over the gourd, she would be crushed to death by the force of the world. Trembling, Yin Luan's gaze softened. Unable to bear the pressure from her mind, she slowly loosened her grip. The gourd in her hand shook and flew toward Wang Lin, landing in his palm. Wang Lin's eyes appeared calm, but there was a glint of sharpness within. This was the first time he had fully harnessed his clone's power to suppress someone, and the strength of the aura startled him as well. Gripping the gourd, Wang Lin turned and slowly ascended the stairs toward the 7th and 8th levels. He still had to select a divine ability for his cultivation. Only when Wang Lin's figure vanished from Yin Luan's sight did the terrifying aura dissipate. Yin Luan's body grew weak, and she staggered back a few steps. Her on the 8th layer, Wang Lin slowly walked up. The ground was covered in dust, as if no one had come here for a long time. This layer was not large, and 9 7-inch soul bodies floated in the air, emitting a soft glow. Within these 9 soul bodies were the 9 incredibly powerful Taoist arts and divine abilities of the Great Soul Sect. Any one of them had the power to destroy the heavens and obliterate the earth.